Marlon Chito Vera taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley. Since their last fight, I think has gotten a little bit better. So I think will successfully. Benoit Saint Denis taking on Dustin Poirier. Gilbert Burns fighting Della Maddalena. Once you jump into that top 5 echelon, it's a different feel, guys, right? I've been top 5 in 2 different weight classes, and anytime I'm fighting a top 5 guy, it's just no room for error. None whatsoever. And I think
2 weight classes, you must smash and fight ready assassin. Gassing them, passing them, double legging and tapping them. Who was the first to bring the smoke straight to Adesanya? This 5'9" middleweight, call me the brown bomber.
All right, how do I look? All right. In the camera?
This hair's a little on the other
This
side.
one? This one? It's a little down, right?
Yeah,
that's fine. UFC 299 is right around the corner, guys. Let's talk about it. But before we do, we gotta thank Jimmy Bars, guys. Without them, none of this is possible. It's easy to keep my hands out of the cookie jar and into the Jimmy Bar jar. So go ahead, go to jimmybars.com and follow them at Jimmy Bars on Instagram. Hey. All right, UFC 299 is right around the corner, guys. Let's talk about it. This is one of the most stacked cards of the year, and it's coming up next to UFC 300, which will be monumental. But our eyes are set on 299, and this is a rematch happening with Marlon Chito Vera taking on the undisputed bantamweight champion and Sugar Sean O'Malley. And like I said, this is a rematch from their first fight back in 2020. That first fight ended up with Chito Vera taking a TKO win over Sugar Sean O'Malley. Although he denies the allegations, he is not undefeated. He is undisputed nonetheless. But he denies these allegations, right? He's always saying how he's undefeated in his career. But the only blemish, the only mark, the only weed coming out of Sugar Sean O'Malley's front yard has a name, and it goes by Marlon Chito Vera. I think the script, though, however, is going to play out a little differently, right? It is already different. Now Sugar is the bantamweight champion. Marlon is now one of the highest ranked bantamweights in the world. The storyline is there, so the UFC decided to make it. I don't think anybody's complaining. You know, I think this is going to be an exciting fight. Both have had different trajectories in their career since their last fight, right? Marlon has had a few ups and downs, has beaten and fought some of the best fighters in the world with a few ups and downs, while Sugar Sean O'Malley took a straight shot to the title, beating everybody in front of him and knocking out Aljamain Sterling in his last fight to gain UFC gold, right? So he's looked great. I think he's gotten better since their last fight. You know, he's very dynamic, very elusive, very unpredictable in his approach to fighting. We don't know always what we're getting in a Sugar Sean O'Malley fight. What we do know is that 99.99% of the time he has gotten his hand raised. And with Marlon, I think we know what we're getting in a Marlon Chito Vera fight. You know, he's going to come forward, he's going to bite down on his mouthpiece, he's going to throw combinations, he's going to throw kicks up the middle, he's going to throw nasty leg kicks. And if he can't do that, he's going to try and take you down and try and submit you. And we know what we're getting in a Chito Vera fight. And that's the thing. Since their last fight, I think Sugar has gotten a little bit better, has evolved a little bit more with the sport, right? While Marlon has kind of stayed at that same, we know what we're getting in the Chito Vera fight, right? But with Sugar Sean, we don't always know what we're getting. We don't always know what approach he's taking to this fight. Although I do think he's going to be a little bit smarter. I do think he's going to be a little bit more well aware of the weapons that Chito has and brings, right? And obviously he doesn't want to lose that UFC gold. So I think he's going to be a lot more smarter in this approach to this fight. I think the script is going to play out a little bit differently. And I think Sugar Sean should take this fight. I don't know In which manner, I don't know if he's going to finish him. It could be a hard-fought decision. I don't know. So I think the script is going to play it out a little bit differently. This time, I think Sugar Sean will successfully defend his Bantamweight championship and come out with another diamond or another sapphire in his belt. In the co-main event, we got a hell of a fight. Benoit Saint Denis taking on one of the most exciting, one of the biggest stars we have in the UFC in Dustin Diamond Poirier. I mean, when it comes to a superstar status, this is one of the guys that comes to mind, right? He's beaten Conor McGregor twice. He's been one of the most relevant and dangerous lightweights in the entire UFC for a long, long time. And so for the UFC to make the matchup with Benoit Saint Denis, man, this matchup got me scratching my head a little bit, just because we don't necessarily always see these young guys fighting the elite of the elite. But to be thrown with the elite of the elite in one of the superstars in our sport in Dustin Poirier, the UFC must know something we don't, because I don't necessarily see that all the time. You know, they must know something about Saint Denis that we don't. I just think it's going to be a reality check, guys, for Saint Denis. You know, once you jump into that top 5 echelon of any weight division, it's a different feel, guys, right? I've been top 5 in 2 different weight classes, and anytime I'm fighting a top 5 guy, it's just no room for error, none whatsoever. And I think Saint Denis is going to be a little bit green, although he's very good. His last win was against Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola, very good, but let's face it, he is a top 15 guy, I think, or maybe even top 20 guy in the UFC. So he hasn't fought anybody in the top 10, let alone anybody in the top 5. And now he's being thrown in the lion's den with Dustin Poirier. I think it'll be a little reality check for Saint Denis, right? It'll be a good learning curve for him, because then he gets to figure out what it's like to be in there with the elite of the elite. And so he's going to get a lot better from this. But I think Dustin is going to pull him down from the clouds that he's in and give him a little reality check. And obviously, Dustin's coming off his last loss against Justin Gage. He devastating knockout, and I'm sure he wants to make that wrong right. Another exciting fight is Kevin Holland fighting new UFC signee and MVP, one of the most dangerous strikers in the welterweight division. He just hasn't been fighting in the UFC. This is his UFC debut. He's been fighting all the killers that are not signed with the UFC. He's beaten guys like Diego Lima. He's beaten Paul Daly. So he's very, very good in his striking. You know, he reminds me a little bit of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but he has his own little twist to it, has his own little personality to it. You guys will see when we see that fight. And he's fighting Kevin Holland, man. Big mouth. One of the most entertaining guys in the sport. I mean, they call him Big Mouth for a reason. He talks a big game, and he's very comedic in his approach to promoting his fight. So he brings in a lot of eyes, and very entertaining to say the least. And this is the first time, I think, either of them is fighting a guy that is just as lengthy, just as long, as each other, right? They're both long, lengthy guys, and so it'll be an interesting fight. It'll be interesting to see who can implement their game plan over the other just because of their physical stature. I don't know who's going to win this one. I am, however, taking Kevin Holland for the win. I just think he's a little grittier, and he's going to look to get that knockout, right? So I'm going Kevin Holland for that fight. Another interesting fight is Gilbert Burns fighting Jack Della Maddalena. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I feel like I'm saying Jack Della Macarena, but JDM, people call him JDM. I've been hearing JDM for a very short amount of time after his last fight. People were saying like JDM this, JDM that. Like, who is JDM? This guy from Australia. I am barely getting to know who he is, and they were talking about him being the next welterweight contender. Well, now he's got himself a welterweight contender fight with Gilbert Burns. Gilbert is coming off his last loss with Belal Muhammad, and something interesting happened with Gilbert Burns. I think he took too many fights in too short of a notice in that last year, right? And it didn't look the same against Belal Muhammad. All credit to Belal. He went in there, took the fight himself on short notice, and came out with the W. But I feel like like Gilbert redlined his body too much, like a car engine. If you redline your body, the engine too much, you're gonna blow your engine. And I think that's what happened with Gilbert Burns, where he blew his engine, right? There wasn't that much rest in between those fights, and we need that rest, right? We need your body to recover. Those weight cuts are killer, man. Those weight cuts are killer, and Gilbert's a big, thick boy. I'm sure those weight cuts are not easy, but he did it, and he was on a quest for gold, because that's just how tough of a guy he is. But I think he redlined his body too much. He wasn't as jumpy and twitchy as we normally see him, and it just wasn't performing the way we usually see him perform, right? And I think he had a broken arm in that one as well, so he's coming off an injury. A lot for him to prove in this fight, and I think he's gonna come in hungry. I think he's gonna come in healthy and looking to get that W. So JDM, man, once you get in that top 5, like I said, once again, it's a different feel. Very, very small room for error, if not any errors, right? If you make one small error, it can cost you the entire fight. So very interesting matchup there with JDM, Gilbert Burns. Another one that I'm really excited about is Petr Yan fighting Song Yadong, which is crazy that Petr Yan is in the opening of the pay-per-view. I mean, this is one of the most prolific killers there is in the bantamweight champion, former bantamweight champion himself. Now he's fighting another young, hungry killer in Song Yadong. I mean, every time Song Yadong steps into the octagon, it's fireworks, guys. All right, so this entails for a great fight, these two. I'm really looking forward to that one. And I think Song Yadong might be just good enough to take the win over Petr Yan in that fight, which is going to be an interesting fight, right? Because Petr also brings it. His boxing style is something mesmerized. I really like watching him fight. He's got great wrestling as well. So a very exciting fight and very exciting card, guys. In Miami, I was there in Miami last year myself. Fought Chris Curtis, had an amazing week, had an amazing win, and it's coming up on a very special date, April 13th of 2013. I won the Ultimate Fighter, so this will be the 11th year anniversary of me fighting in the UFC, which is crazy, because it's just crazy that I've been here this long, right? And I still feel very good, and I still feel very green. I'm still learning every day, and I still got a lot to prove. So good things coming up ahead, guys. I cannot wait. Yeah, that is my prediction for UFC 299. We're just sticking with the main card, so thank you for sticking with us. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps the channel a ton. So thank you, guys. Go to jimmybars.com and follow them at jimmybars on Instagram. Hey. All right, guys, just to recap my picks for the main event, I'm going Sean O'Malley. The co-main event, I'm going Dustin Poirier. For the Kevin Holland MVP fight, I'm going with Kevin Holland. And for the Petr Yan and Song Yadong fight, I'm going Song Yadong.